Welcome to Franchise Focus. Today's guest is Tony Wynn, Franchise Development Director at Anytime Fitness, one of the world's largest and most recognized fitness franchises. But Tony's connection to the brand goes way beyond the corporate office. He has a powerful personal weight loss journey that fuels his passion for helping others transform their lives through fitness and entrepreneurship. In this episode, we're diving into what makes Anytime Fitness a global powerhouse, how it supports its owners, and why it might just be the right fit for the purpose driven entrepreneur. So, welcome, Tony.
Hey, thanks for having me, Laura. Excited to talk to you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I don't even know the numbers right now of how many locations. I think it's over 4,500, but
Yeah,
maybe a little bit of how many locations, and then let's get into your personal path
for
to
sure.
it.
Yeah, so Anytime is the biggest fitness franchise brand in the world. We actually just hit 5,600 locations globally.
Oh,
We're in 43 countries, and then the one that surprises people is all seven continents. So we're the only brand on earth, not just franchise, we're the only brand on earth that operates on all seven continents. So it's pretty crazy.
what do you think has led to that? I mean, that's. I mean, really, that's unusual. If
It
you're not a
is.
McDonald's or whatever, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it's just super cool to see health and wellness spreading to parts of the world that maybe were underserved. And there's a lot of places that have forever been underserved that we're really starting to establish a presence, and it's super cool to see it take off.
And it's amazing that it works. That it can work in some of those
Right?
areas. Clearly, there's a need.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, just give us a little background about yourself, how you
Yeah,
got
sure.
involved with Anytime.
Of course. Yeah. So my journey with Anytime Fitness started about 10 years ago as a member. And so my last job, I was working customer service, and I would take usually at least 100 calls a day, but 100 to 150 calls a day. So I was sitting down all day, always on the phones. And, they always give out the, cake for everyone's birthdays and then donuts on Fridays. And I have no willpower. So I was never passing on any of it. And so after a little while of that, that's going to take its toll on you, and it definitely did. And so I started working out at Anytime Fitness across the street. And so for me, it was life changing. I lost like 50 pounds
Wow.
really pretty quickly, and then I ended up running a marathon, which is at the time I wasn't a runner at all. There was something I never even had crossed my mind. And so made a big impact on my life. More importantly than anything, though, like I have four kids, and I got my
Oh,
energy.
well,
I got my energy back, and that was something I was missing for a long time. So I could get home and actually go hang out with the kids and have energy, and it was a pretty awesome thing. So it was a big deal for me, and I came to corporate because I wanted that to help spread to more parts of the country and world, and I've been doing that ever since. So about 9 years now that I've
that's pretty neat that you were able to make that connection and that obviously it's had such a profound impact on
yeah.
you. What do you think got you to stay? Like, I mean, because a lot of people can join gyms, right? But
Yeah.
what got you to keep going and staying and becoming such a success?
Oh gosh. I mean, like in terms of like the gym itself, when I started going there, for me right away it was the convenience because, again, having a whole like football team of children, I need to go to the gym whenever I can, whenever I could find time. So like, Anytime is the brand that pioneered the 24-hour fitness concept.
Hmm.
And so that was a big deal for me, being able to go, before work, if I, sometimes go super early, or after work, or during, even on my lunch break, or,
Hmm.
sometimes it's after I put the kids to bed, I could go. And so that was a big deal. And then, in terms of the, company, it's a phenomenal company to work for. And we don't have a whole lot of turnover because once you're here, most people stick around because it's meaningful work. We're helping people change their lives, which is, a pretty cool thing to be a part of. But also the company just treats us really well.
That's incredible. That's incredible. How do you think that? I mean, that's not usual necessarily, especially with something that's that big. What filters down that culture and that
Yeah.
everybody?
Well, and so like our co-founders quite literally wrote the book on workplace culture. They've got a book called Love Work that we've got a street sign in our lobby and also in front of our building at our office that say people, purpose, performance, and play. Those are kind of our four P's, we call them. And those are at the center of everything we do. And so their book really focuses on those and kind of how to put together a perfect blend of all those elements to make your workplace fun and make your staff love it and make people want to hang around. And so, that's not just for corporate. Like anytime we have people come to our office for like training and things like that, we make sure they get the book so they can spread that culture to their own teams. And it's a really good way to do business.
Are there any misconceptions when people think about anytime fitness? Because you do think about the hours. I know you mentioned to me, and I was surprised that that there's quite a few people use personal trainers there, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, they have personal trainers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, and I would say, yeah, one of the misconceptions that I get from some people is like, even though we are a really labor light model, I would say it's not
Hmm.
completely unstaffed. And so, what's great about it, if you're a franchisee, is you can have unstaffed hours. So, like, usually our gyms are staffed maybe about 50 hours per week, and that's when your trainers are going to be there. That's when people are there to sign up members and give tours and all those things and make sure we're connecting with our members. But you can also have unstaffed hours. So one of the beautiful parts about that as a franchisee, obviously it saves you overhead. You're not paying somebody to sit behind a desk in the middle of the night, but your members can get in whenever they want. Nobody's inconvenienced on nights, weekends, holidays. You can give your staff the day off. Somebody calls in sick, it's not the end of the world. You're still making money that day, so it's pretty cool as a franchisee. But I'd say that might be the biggest misconception: is some people think it's completely unstaffed, which is not the case. You do need somebody there to still, kind of steer the ship, so to speak, but you don't have to be there all the time.
And you saw or we've all seen the rise of all these boutique fitness, and
Yeah,
Anytime has kept its model. How do you guys rank in that? It's certainly longevity is proving your locations are growing. Not
yeah.
all those do. So, what do you attribute to that?
You know what's crazy is we have added to our club count every single year of existence. We've always gotten bigger, and that includes through the COVID years. We've gotten bigger and bigger globally. And so, I would say a big part of it is, health and wellness. Like, this is a traditional gym. There's always going to be a space for traditional gyms. There's always going to be a place for fitness in general, but specifically traditional gyms. During like those COVID years, I think what people really realized is, they maybe don't like working out at home as much as they thought, and they need the community that comes along with the gym. And so, it's nice to have a place where you can get together and, high five somebody and actually, get your workout done. So, no, I think if anything, people realize that fitness is essential, and it's something that, it's certainly not a fad. It's getting, bigger and bigger every single year.
And when you look at franchise owners that are coming on, what is there a specific type of profile, or do they?
Yeah. Well, I guess, okay, going back to your, are there any misconceptions? That would be one of them. People might think you got to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger to be a gym owner, and that's absolutely not true. No, I talk to a wide variety of people, and some people are like that. Some people are super passionate about fitness, and they're like, oh gosh, I'm a, retired military, or maybe I used to be in law enforcement, or, just been around gyms their whole lives and love it. And, this is what they want to do, and they're passionate about it, and that's awesome. But I also talk to people on the other side that say, "Hey, I saw you on a some type of a list that it's a great franchise, and I see it as a good business investment." And that's okay too. So I talk to a lot of people maybe that come from other industries. Maybe they owned a bunch of restaurants or something else. They heard about our low labor, and obviously that's a pain point in the restaurant industry. So
Hmm.
it's like, sometimes it's just people like that too that have just heard it's a good business model and want to, take a look at it. But no, you absolutely do not have to be like any specific profile. And then I guess one other thing I'll add too is, we have kind of a mixture of people that are really hands-on. They want to be the person that's there day in and day out, and that's great, but it's not a requirement. We do have semi-absentee ownership as well, where, you essentially get a manager trained up, and then you can take a step back and just kind of, coach them from the sidelines.
Really? So, okay, what kind of how does that roll? How does that play out for an owner if that's what they're thinking?
Sure. Well, I would say, you can really kind of structure that however you want. Like, some of our franchisees, like, they'll start with one location with buying the rights to a couple others. So they'll have a plan in place to do, let's say, three of them. And
Mhm.
so they'll build up the first one, and then they'll, get a trainer or a manager ready to take over for them so they can take a step back, and then maybe their second year open up their second location, and then take a step back from the second location, pass it on to the next person, and then move on to their third location. So sometimes it's just a way of growing, because if you're going to do multiple locations, which most of our franchisees do, about 2/3 of our network own multiple, then you're going to eventually need to trust passing the keys over to somebody else, and taking that step back. So you're always going to be, I would say, mentally present, but you don't have to be physically present, you as the franchisee. And if you have somebody that you entrust to handle things for you and run the day to day, that's great. We have no requirement that you, as the franchisee, have to be there any set amount of time.
What is the franchisee doing besides managing the people and monitoring KPIs and budgeting? Like, is it helpful? Do they need to get out in the community?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, those are the big ones. You're going to be, managing your numbers and things like that. You're always going to be taking regular calls with your franchise business coach, which, by the way, not just in the beginning, the whole time that you are a franchisee, you get a franchise business coach who is your go-to person for everything. But yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Like you said, they're going to be, you're still going to be an element of local advertising. That's important. You want to build a community and you want to get your name out in the community. And we want to make sure that people know that you're there and that it's a not just your, big box gym where you're just a number. You are a person. We get to know you and you can create those relationships in the community. And that is really what keeps people coming back. So yeah, I would say that's an important element for sure is making sure that people know that you're there.
So you're 5,600 locations across I don't remember how many countries, 40 some,
43. Yeah.
43, and a lot in the US. So in terms of room for multiple units,
Yeah.
is that doable? How do people
Yes.
find space?
That's a great question. It comes up a lot. Yeah, are you running out of room? No, not even close. So one of the really cool things about our model is we can go in communities big and small, and that's part of our secret sauce right there. Is so like
Yeah.
we can go in the really urban areas. Like I've got one in downtown Minneapolis. I've got one in downtown San Diego. But I
Mhm.
also have them in places like rural Iowa where there might be 7,000 people in the whole county, and both of those can work really well for different reasons. In the big cities, you're going to have, in all likelihood, there's going to be more income, there's going to be more people, but there's probably more competition too. Those smaller communities, it's kind of the opposite, where you've got a lot less people, but there's also less competition. So it can actually work really well too. And because our footprints are smaller, and we kind of work on a sliding scale, we let our franchisees do as small as 3,500 square feet up to about 6,500. They get to pick what makes sense in their market. That's how we're able to make some of those other markets work. So, all that to say, we have about 2,300 in the US right now. We expect to at least be able to double that number, if not more than that.
Wow. Okay.
Tons of white space still available, really good options still out there.
Wow. Okay. And in terms of that process to find locations and all that, if someone decides to sign on, what is that process on your end? And how long does that
Sure.
typically take?
Yeah, so part of the exploration with me through our phone calls, I always do Zoom calls so I can share my screen. We're going to look at the map together, and so I like to explore different areas. And so just live on the call, we can, of course, they're going to tell me the area that they're looking, and we can kind of look at, different areas nearby that might make sense. And so I'll just on the fly kind of do an evaluation. We can look at how many people are there, how much income, what the competition looks like. I can put a filter on for all those things. And so we just kind of take a look at it, help them put together a game plan. And then once, they move through the whole process, which of course there's a lot more to it than that. We have, validation calls with franchisees and we have a discovery day where they get to meet the team and things like that. But let's just say they move forward. The step one is you're going to work with our real estate team. We have a great real estate team. Their whole job is to help you find the right location. And then they're just going to give you a bunch of guidance as you get ready to sign your lease and things like that. Once you've done that, we've got a construction design team. They're going to do the drawings for you and let you know how much equipment would fit, what color the walls need to be, all those things. And then you get a project manager that keeps you on task throughout the whole process. And then I already mentioned the franchise business coach. So
Yeah.
we don't just hand you a playbook and say good luck. We
Yeah.
show you what has worked for many other people before you and we guide you through it.
We touched on this a little bit, but I'm just asking a little bit different way. But what do you think's allowed Anytime Fitness to stay relevant and so successful?
Yeah, well, so in the beginning, Anytime Fitness was all about being 24 hours, and that's kind of what made us unique. Nobody else was doing the 24-hour thing when we first got started, and so that's why the brand really blew up in the beginning. But of course, competition, is always going to emulate, and imitation's the highest form of flattery, they say. So now there's other 24-hour gyms, so we have to keep evolving. And so, as we have grown, technology has become important, and so staying up with the times. Just one minor example, but we just recently switched from your physical key fob. Now you can just use your app. You scan in at the door, it unlocks for you, locks behind you for security. But then there's other things built into the app as well. So for example, all of our members for free get Apple Fitness Plus, which is Apple's digital platform.
No.
Yep,
Wow.
we have an exclusive partnership with Apple, so that's a pretty big deal.
That is
And
huge.
so yeah, that's great. And then also just the way that we can use that. So, as an example, Laura, let's say you're my trainer. I tell you I'm going to be going on vacation. You can send me workouts right through the app and say, hey, I know you're going to be on the beach all week, but here's some workouts you can do through your Apple Fitness Plus, where you can do your workouts and keep going even while you're on the beach. So it's pretty cool technology to be able to do that. So yeah, we've got
That's
a lot of tech built into the brand, and I'll give you one more quick example here too. Is we have AI built in too for our franchisees.
Uh-huh.
And so they can use this AI to, it's going to be running in the background, and it'll essentially send a list to our franchisees once a week and say, these are your members that are at risk of quitting for various reasons based on a score, basically, they're getting behind the scenes built by AI. And so it gives you a chance to reach out to those members before they have quit and kind of head it off and see if you can help them and say, hey, I know, when you started 6 months ago, you had a goal to lose 30 pounds. How's that going? I have not seen you in the club in the last 6 weeks. How can I get you back on track? And so it gives you a chance to save memberships, maybe even before they know that they're thinking about quitting, but we do because we've
That's
seen it.
wild.
We've seen these patterns before. So yeah, we use a lot of technology, and that is a big part of our process now.
Wow, that's very wild. I mean, that's really cool.
Pretty
That's
high
not
tech.
only
It's
helping
cool.
with very high tech, helping with revenue, but helping the person, to keep them. Yeah,
Yep. That's
yeah.
more important than anything else. Like, our whole goal is to help people get healthy. And so, like, we will very actively reach out to our members, re-engage our members. And I'll tell you, there's something in the fitness industry called a sleeper rate, which is people that do not come to your gym. They pay money for the membership and they just kind of forget about it. They don't come to the
Yep.
gym. We view that as a bad thing. I will tell you, some other brands view that as a good thing because they sell so many memberships that if everyone came to the gym at the same time because they're low price memberships, that they would have a big problem on their hands. But we want our members to come to the gym. That's the whole point. We want people to get healthy. And so we'll actively re-engage people and try to keep them coming to the gym.
That's fantastic. And when you think about your owners, do do some people maintain full-time jobs? Do they
Yeah.
do you have a split mix, or a
Yeah.
lot of people do you have a rough idea what that is?
I would say it's a pretty good mixture. The majority, I think the goal is always to get to where this is all you do. But a lot of people will have other stuff that, at least for the first club or first couple of clubs, maybe they keep their full-time job, and that's totally fine. We're okay with that. Again, as long as you have a manager, you have somebody there to kind
Got
of
it.
be your proxy for those hours, and they can get out and meet the members and build rapport with people and things like that, make calls, answer emails. As long as you have somebody that's doing all those things, it doesn't have to be you. So yeah, absolutely, you can keep your job. But I think as people scale up, a lot of times they then move into that more of like a regional manager type role where they're overseeing things, but then they have individual managers at.
Okay. Okay. And those that you've seen become really successful and really scale, what any qualities that they share, these owners?
I guess I would say the biggest call, I mean, just being engaged is a really big thing. And like you talked about, getting out and meeting the community and building a
Hmm.
community within your gym. And
Okay.
so that's a big deal, is, helping our members, get to know one another. And so sometimes they'll hold community events or different things like that to help people get to know each other. But also, I'll tell you, one of the things, we redesigned the gym a few years ago. And with the redesign, we very intentionally tore down a bunch of walls because it used to be a really segmented design where there was a separate studio room, and that's where people would go do their, group fitness workouts and things like that. And we took down those walls because we want it to be open, and we want people to see what's going on. We want them to say, hey, that looks really cool, I want to be part of that. And actually start to ask us about how can I join these group classes and things like that. Part of That was all part of the plan in tearing down those walls, is building up the community, and it has definitely helped.
Oh, wow. Wow. So what type of different group classes do you have?
We have a few different ones. So usually they are like, these are kind of the core ones. We have one called Burn, which is going to be higher cardio. One called Build, which is more like strength focused, and then one called Base, which might be somewhere in between, might have some more core and different things like that added. And so we're always at the corporate side. We're always designing new content for those. We pass that content on. You just need a trainer to run people through those. But then we are flexible too. So, like, for example, if you have a trainer that wants to add some other classes, like, for example, you live in an area that maybe has a lot of senior citizens, you can do some type of a senior citizens class. Or you've
Hmm.
got a college in the area, you could do like a college athletes class or whatever. So you can add stuff to it, but we design a few different ones for you as well.
And that one trainer could probably take them through those different classes, or that you
Yeah,
have. Okay.
absolutely. So your trainer would be, certified. We don't have a requirement in which certification, but they'd go through one of the accredited certifications.
Okay.
And really, their job is just to be able to guide people through the workout and just to be able to correct form and things like that. But we make it easy on them by writing all the content.
Oh, okay. Okay. Fantastic. Yeah. So someone signs, they start going through the build out, and they're do you do it pre-sales, or what's the marketing to bring
Yeah.
in people?
So the goal is always to open day one already with some members signed up. Kind of the
Hmm.
minimum goal we shoot for is 150 people signed up. Day one, you open your doors, you already have, some money coming in. We've had clubs open with a lot more than that, but that's kind of the minimum goal we shoot for is
Wow.
like 150. So, yeah, that's part of the process, and we do a lot. Some of our item 7. So the initial investment is allotted towards the initial advertising because we want to make sure that we get the word out before you ever open. So you're going to partner with a third-party ad agency to they've got programs already built out where they've done this many times before and they can help you get the word out in the community.
Hmm. Yep. 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 Got it. Okay. How do you know when a candidate is a right fit for any time
I
when you're
guess I
going through
would,
that process?
yeah, that's a great question. I would say usually it becomes apparent pretty quick in the process where, kind of what their level of engagement is. So, again, I talk to a variety of people and a variety of different backgrounds can work really well for this. So, I guess the biggest thing for me that would be kind of like a red flag would be like if I get the sense that they're looking to open Tony's gym, not an Anytime Fitness, where it's like, everything we say, it's like, I no, I don't want to do that. I want to do it my way. And it's like we've seen what works, we've seen what doesn't work. Not to say we're
Yeah.
perfect. We're not perfect. We're trying to get better every day, but
Yep.
we have done this many times and we've got a pretty good game plan. So, we want to make sure that people are aligned kind of with the vision of the company. And as long as they are and they have the right background and they're financially qualified, all those things,
Yep.
then there's a high likelihood we can make it.
What excites you the most about any time going forward?
Oh gosh, there's a lot of things that excite me about any time going forward. I would say just the growth trajectory. We're just
Yeah.
it gets bigger every single day, which is super cool. Even in my years, my 9 years here, I think we've grown by, gosh, it's got to be over 2,000 units since I got here, and that's just in 9 years. And so the sky is really the limit. Last year, we merged with Orange Theory Fitness, which is another powerhouse in fitness. And so, just having a whole network of different brands is a pretty cool
Yep.
thing where we can leverage some of the things that they do particularly well. They can leverage some of the things that we do particularly well. We put those together and kind of using the best of both worlds. But, together, like, we have a network now of over 7,000 units globally. And so, we've got a lot of strength and buying power and everything else, but
Yes.
just so many resources that we can make sure the experience is great for everybody. So I would say just growth. We're going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bringing fitness to more parts of the world.
And so you obviously you go in a lot of countries, and shame on me. I just recently, I'm trying to remember who it was, reached out and I'm trying to remember what country. And I'm like, oh, I don't have anything,
Yeah,
but I need to
yeah.
think. So
Well,
obviously you guys go down into other countries, or do you
we do.
handle that locally?
Well, so that's a good question. So we use what's called a master franchising system. So
Okay.
basically, we have different people that own different markets, and so they basically act on our behalf in different
Yep.
markets and can sell gyms in those markets. And so that's been part of how we've been able to scale as quickly as we have too,
Yep.
because if we were sitting here at our office in Minnesota and trying to run operations in Dubai, we don't know their local customs and things
Right.
like that, and so we lean on people that are already in those markets and understand the cultural nuances and
Very
things like
cool.
that too. And as a kind of a fun side note, about 6 months after I started here, I recruited my older brother, who works on our international team. So he quite literally is opening up clubs around the world. He goes to India and Colombia, and he was
Oh,
just over
okay.
in United Arab Emirates. So it's pretty cool. Quite literally opening up gyms around the world.
Wow. I think a big thing that rings for me today was that coach that you talked about. That
Yeah,
sounds such like a clear differentiator than for the life of the franchise, because that doesn't always
yeah,
happen. It sounds like
right.
obviously it could be a big value. And it's important to leverage that when you're joining. I think people forget that sometimes, that you don't have to figure this stuff out for yourself. That's why you join a franchise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Anything that you would want all candidates to ask when they're going through the process to help them and or you?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, just kind of naturally, I know what questions usually come up, and I have kind of a checklist to make sure that we hit on all of those things. But
Mhm.
just a couple things that I'll just call out here. So we already talked about the 24-hour brand. Obviously, we already talked about it
Mhm.
being labor light, flexible in size. Another thing, we could be flexible in pricing too, and that's part of our
Oh,
success model too. So, like, for example, what you could charge in a market like New York City might be different than what you could charge in Middle America.
you're
And
right.
so you can price it according to what makes sense in your area. So that's important, but also just we have several different revenue streams. So I'll run through those real quick here. But recurring revenue, where you're making it day in and day out. That's through memberships.
Hmm.
Then we have personal training. We talked a little bit about that.
Hmm.
Nutritional services can go along with that.
Oh,
We recently introduced red light and infrared saunas as an option for franchisees. They don't have to do it, but they can. So
wow.
it's an add-on to membership. So you don't, again, you don't have to do it, but it makes a lot of sense for people. So if you are into red light,
Yeah,
there's some standalone red light franchise brands that will charge up to $200 a month. So
right.
we can make it an add-on to memberships for significantly lower price, and it becomes a really easy decision for people that like red light. So that's been
Huh.
great. And then one more too, we have the option to add physical therapy or chiro to our gyms, and so that's
Huh.
basically a store within a store concept. You don't do not manage the employee, but what's really cool is they're paying you each month to be there, and then
Yep.
on top of that, they're bringing people through your doors that are often not your members
Right.
that can become your members. So it's like a lead source that not only are you not paying for, but they're paying you for to give you these leads. So it's pretty cool. And then
Wow.
the last thing, this is super unique. And I know you talk to a lot of franchisors, but we do a flat royalty. And I don't know of any other brands that do. I'm sure there are some, but I don't know of any others that do a flat royalty. So
Not many.
of course, like normally it's going to be percentage based, and that means the more money that you make as the franchisee, the more money the franchisor takes from you. But ours is flat. And so the way that it works is you know what to expect month over month, and that's flat for our royalty, our tech fee, and our ad fund. Often two of those, if not all three, are percentage based. So they're going to fluctuate, but ours are flat. So what that means is whether you have 500 members or 2,000 members, you paid us the same. And so your rent, your utilities, but now in this
Yeah,
case, even your royalties aren't going to really be changing. And so, what's great about it is every dollar that comes in beyond your break even is just going to, widen your EBITDA margin. So it's just incentive for you to crush it, make more money, and you keep more money.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
This has been fantastic. I really appreciate it. Anything else that you think is important to wrap up? That is very powerful.
I think we've covered a lot of it. But I guess the other thing that I'll say is if somebody wants to get started on this, the initial investment range it's really wide, just because the all the
Nice.
reasons we talked about. It can be a big club, it can be a small club, it can be in New York, or it can be in Middle America. So depending on those factors, you're going to see a wide range. The total range that we see is 458 to 908 nationally. Most
Okay.
people fall in the middle of that range. And if you were to do a small business loan, then typically you put down as little as like 125 to 150. That's pretty common. And then the rest of it can be financed. So it doesn't necessarily take as much money as people initially think to get a brand new gym up and running.
Right. Right. Fantastic.
And then the last thing I'll mention here too is, we have a pretty fantastic EBITDA margin, and a big part of that is again these flat royalties, because every dollar that comes in beyond your break even is going to widen this margin. So just to be clear, this is based off of our corporate-owned gyms. Our corporate-owned gyms are very average in the system overall.
Okay.
So it's pretty fair representation, but they have an EBITDA percentage of 27%, which in fitness, usually you see numbers in the teens. Anything in the 20s is good, 27 is great. And that's our middle of the pack numbers based
That's the
off of our
middle of
corporate
pack.
gyms. So yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of potential to make a lot of money.
That is fantastic. I need to do a better job reminding people of that. That is fantastic.
Yeah.
This is great. I appreciate your time.
Well, likewise, it was really nice
Yeah,
chatting with you.
super fun. Okay. Look forward to talking maybe next year again and see where it's grown.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Hopefully we're up to 50 some countries by then.
There you go.